Welcome to Key Code Media and Food Truck Wars. I'm Mike Cavanaugh, president of the company. We're entering our 15th year. Our real focus is to find all these things that come together and plug them together, test them, and hope they work. And we've been doing that for a while. For all of you who are our clients and been doing business with us, thank you very much. For those of you who are checking us out and saying, should we talk to you people? We actually don't bite, we're okay. Tony Aradia, who has a lot of energy and is going to be hosting tonight's event, said, I want to do a workflow event with everything connected together and talk about all the really crazy workflows that clients in an unscripted world have to deal with. And we're going to do it live. So welcome, thank you for coming. Tony, you ready to start?
I'm ready, let's go! Food Truck Wars! All right, I'm really curious because I saw the lines. Kogi! Kogi! Who said Kogi? Okay, grilled cheese! I don't know, it's a war. How are we going to win? It's so funny. I have had a great opportunity to work with so many reality television production companies. Key Code has so many clients that do so many cool workflows, and they're all crazy. The production workflow for reality television is dynamic, it's chaotic, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very stressful. Now, I recognize a lot of people that are here. We have a lot of reality television folks that are here, so they're going to be able to keep me in check. And what we're doing tonight is something different. Normally, we just do demos. We're demoing this, we're demoing that. Today, we're doing a show and tell, a real show. You saw us with cameras out in the front. This is a reality television workflow that is going to work right in front of your eyes. We are going to ingest. We're going to capture. We're going to put it on a stand. We're going to get producers to agree on something and get a thing to get down to a lock. Then we're going to color. Then we're going to put graphics on it. And then we're going to do an LTO deliverable to Discovery because everybody knows how much we love that deliverable. And we're going to do it for real. Nothing, absolutely nothing could go wrong. Oh, another thing, too, is we got a Pro Tools rig back there, and we didn't own the rights to anything, so we're going to have to record something live and put it over the top. For real. Nothing can go wrong. So here we are. I have to say hi to my kid. Diego, are you watching? What's up, dude? All right, so we're going to do it. We're going to start from the very top here. Let's throw up the workflow here. See some of the wonderful clients that we get to work with all the time. We are in the trenches. We are doing this now. Not every workflow is the same, but we've had the luxury, the experience to just pound our heads against the wall until we get it right. And here's some of the clients that we get to do it with. What is the biggest challenge? Now, this is very specific to reality, that reality is facing. And some of you guys can agree, and I'll tell you you're wrong. The biggest challenge is, bam, ratio, shot ratio, 700 to 1, 1,000 to 1, 1,000,000 to 1. Are you kidding me? Did you see me out there with an iPhone? You're going to see people out there with a GoPro, a Red, an Ari Alexa, I don't know what, a flip phone. This is what these people have to deal with. And they've got to create it, conform it, get it all in the same workflow and let everybody work. Now, I'm not going to just talk and talk. I'm going to hand this over to my team that's going to go through this. And I'm going to come back and we're going to walk through the workflow. The first part of this workflow is capture, edit, delivery, and archive. It's that simple, right? No, it's not. That's the reality of reality workflow. Okay, so we're going to start with file format, instant compatible. We got to do multicam. That's so much fun. Story producers get their selects. Nobody likes their selects. Then the editors fight, and then the producers get pissed off. It goes all the way back to the login, and then we find out we have the wrong codec. We've got to go back all the way over here. And then are we doing 145 or 422 or God knows what? And then finally, we have to deliver to Discovery, NBC, every cable channel on the planet, and they're all different, right? So let's get started. It's going to be fun. All right. So the first portion, this is with the real workflow. This is what we're really going to go through today. So all that scribble, this is it. The ingest, the storage, the collaborative workflow, the color, the finish, and the output. And the first process starts with ingest. And Eric, Eric here, Bayshore, I've worked with on many projects before, and Key Code has worked with, and thank God he saved our lives. We've done reality television, we've done feature, we've done broadcast television. Let's start with the ingest. You saw us outside with the cameras, you saw us with all the iPhones. He just got it. He's going to give you the workflow, he's going to get it on the sand. Eric, take it away. Let's start the workflow. Jump into that mic.
All right, thanks, Tony. Test. There we go, we're live now. So, how's everyone doing tonight? Good? So, who chose grilled cheese over Korean tacos? I don't know, I've had both, so, but thanks for all coming. So, we're here representing Telestream, and our enterprise class solution is called Vantage Transcode. So, Vantage is our enterprise class transcoding solution that will make your reality television shoots much, much easier, especially with camera ingest. As you know, like what Tony mentioned, you're dealing with GoPro, iPhones, red footage, C300, C500, 5D. Stuff's all over the place. People are shooting in different frame rates, different aspect ratios. So instead of you having, and I'm sure you've done it quite a bit, having to manually sort through all of that footage, we have a solution for you. It's called our camera ingest solution. So basically, as an example, I have some Sony FS7 footage here on a camera card, and I got my trusty iPhone. Now, for time's sake, I've already loaded some of this stuff onto my SAN here. The Telestream application, we work well with many types of storage solutions, Facilis, ISIS, network shares, Isilon, all that kind of stuff. And the most common type is these cards are loaded up, we don't know what's on them, and Vantage can basically what we call, it's smart transcoding. So we're not just having a file come in and come out. So what you're looking at up here on the screen is a workflow we built specifically here for Food Wars using our camera ingest function. Now, what is camera ingest? Basically, it allows you to, let me go to the right slide here, do individual shot modes. So if you have a camera card with individual files, you can transcode individual files. You can do a stitching mode, which will transcode all the files together back to back. Or if you're, for example, if you're doing like a 3-camera shoot, you can do a time alignment mode, and it'll basically align all that footage up for you, basically group them for you before you even get them to the editor. Now, Vantage is also a smart transcoder as well. It has analytical capabilities. So in this workflow, we have an analyze action here. This analyze action is actually going in and interrogating that media. What I mean by interrogating is creating what's called a variable that will be passed downstream. It's saying, what's the video width? What's the height? What's the frame rate? How many audio channels does it have? Does it even have audio? Sometimes people shoot stuff, there's not even any audio on it. So, like I said, stuff's all over the place. So Vantage's ability to basically do a media triage and sort through that footage, we can decide if it's 2997 or if it's 23976, and then route to the appropriate transcoder on the way out. Now, this particular workflow in what we call Workflow Designer, we're making for the Avid format a DNX 220 for high res and also a low res proxy for editorial. So what we do, we have our camera footage here, and I'll go into my staging folder. So I have some FS7 footage, and I got some footage shot on an iPhone here. Now let's go in and I'll just go ahead and get my FS7 footage. Now, most times when I've dealt with a lot of reality television folks and a lot of shoots, and they'll have like a master root folder with like basically like a barcode. If anybody's familiar with Avid, that becomes the tape name. So Vantage is basically extracting that and creating a tape name. So when you do your matchbacks from your low res to your high res, everything matches up. So it's easy to consolidate and do your editorial on your low res and then match back to your high res for your final output. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to activate my workflow, and now we're actively monitoring a folder to drop files into. And let's go ahead and drop that in there. Now we're in a monitor status view. Basically, this is showing us that the Vantage transcode server is actually actively monitoring that watch folder and waiting for that camera footage to be dropped in. Now you see, this is called the job status tab. You'll see a lot of these in process and waiting. This is basically your job status view of where the process is and where the files are being transcoded. Currently, we're transcoding directly to the Facilis array. And in a shared storage environment, the editors will be able to see that shared storage, and immediately, instead of having to AMA, instead of having to transcode before you get into editorial, we're making it to that native editorial output. Whether it's Premiere, Final Cut, Avid, doesn't make any difference. We're agnostic to editorial platforms, and it saves a lot of time. Vantage does all the heavy lifting, does all the transcoding, and basically prepares everything for that editorial platform to edit. Now, I wanted to mention one more thing as well. We do offer an appliance called a Lightspeed server, and you'll hear a jet engine start to spin up over there with the fans going. That's our GPU accelerated appliance, and that does transcodes much faster than real time. So if you have a tight timeline, which a lot of reality television shoots do, it gets things in much quicker. And you can also run Vantage in what's called an array configuration if you have hundreds or thousands of hours of footage. Like Tony mentioned, 700 to 1, 1,000 to 1. That's a lot of footage to have to edit, have to transcode. If we can do all the heavy lifting on the input and on the output side.
Yeah, that means you can buy more and more from me.
Exactly.
You can just stack them up.
Again, once these are done, they're complete, and then you're ready for editorial.
Right on. So we're on the sand now, right?
Correct.
So this is the exciting world of transcoding. Pretty crazy, huh? Woo! Give us here for Eric. One file format to the next. My favorite part is to look at that screen and just watch those little lines do this. Really cool. Wait, but it gets better. Our next step is storage. Let me tell you how exciting storage is. So here we go. Now, we've got Jim McKenna, who I've worked with a lot. We just did a really cool project for a major studio that I cannot mention, but it rhymes with Borner Wuthers. And we're doing a really cool project, and they're very excited about the system that we have on site that is connected to a whole bunch of black magic color stations. And man, they're spinning some fast 4K full-time. Now, we're talking about 4K, right? It's coming, but this is reality television. You know how many reality television productions are doing 4K right now? Well, maybe one or two, but they don't have a contract and they're not airing. But they're doing it, but it is coming, right? But what I want to talk about now is storage. What's important about storage is I have 2 editors, 4 editors, 5 editors. And some clients that Key Code have, we have 100 editors. We have 150 editors that have to collaboratively work together and be organized. And this system, Facilis, just like many other systems that we have, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. We put the best and right sand in the right solution. But let's talk about Facilis for a sec. Jim, go ahead and take it away and talk about your system, what we're doing here.
Just walk over here and get a microphone.
Oh, hey, I told you you forgot. Go.
Great during the rehearsal, by the way. The microphone thing
Thanks,
went
buddy.
perfectly in the
Appreciate
rehearsal.
that. You got it.
I'll stand up here for a few minutes because obviously, storage is something that you shouldn't really be thinking about all the time, and that's good storage if you're not thinking about it all the time. So the interface of the storage system is going to be very simple, and I'm not going to go into how it differs in reality television and things like that. I mean, there are some nuances that we're very good at. The ability to create virtual volumes and make those quickly accessible to every client on the network, whether it be fiber channel or Ethernet. You can grab it over your wireless network or grab it over a 16 gig fiber channel if you're going to be doing a DaVinci Resolve workflow in 4K, But we're in reality series here, I understand that. So we scale out to 250 clients, all direct access to the SAN, all direct access over our shared file system, which is not a network file system, it's actually a shared file system customized by us for high optimization, audio and video playback. Very high stream count, even on a single enclosure, in a 5U enclosure up to 96 terabytes. And we're really all about the post-production, whether it be boutique, post for broadcast, broadcast, reality, whatever it might be, we have customers up and down the range when it comes to that. So Facilis has been around since 2003. Started off with a bunch of ex-Avid guys who thought they can go do it better. And You can decide whether we did or not, but in the end, what we ended up with was something that was usable across multiple applications, all the way from, Final Cut 7 on up, Final Cut X, the DaVinci Resolve, you name it, Sony Vegas, Edius, Avid, of course, with our advanced emulation mode for Avid FS. And all of these things were very important to our customers because they had a lot of different applications. And we're third party to everybody. We're the ones who have to make everything work. So it was beholden on us. Beholden? Is that a word? It was, the onus was on us to make sure that all of these things work seamlessly, and that's why Key Code came to us. That's why Key Code's a great reseller of ours, is because, like Mike said, their job is to put all these things together, and more than hope, they prove it works, and they prove it here, and they prove it in your facilities. So let me grab the thing here. Over here. All right, so we like to stay ahead of the curve, and that's our little thing that we say. But here's Facilis technology. Now, Eric was doing some transcodes, and the transcodes he was doing are ending up on a Facilis SAN volume. We call them volumes. ISIS calls them workspaces. Really the same thing. When you can create something that you can resize and you can use across multiple workstations on a per project basis. You can organize them however you want. You get that low-level media management, the ability to know all your project data exists in one location, or specific categorizations of data within a project exist all in one file system. You can do that, or you can make one big block of storage and go have at it. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, we support all of these different methods over both fiber channel and Ethernet. But let me go in here first real quick and decide I'm going to make a volume. This is a very simple user interface. You can ask Eric. I trained him in about 30 seconds on how to use this. It's really just all about, here's your volumes. Do I have them mounted? Yep, they're green. That means I have them mounted here. And I should be on a Mac, but I don't have a Mac laptop, so here you go. Here's all my volumes sitting up here. They all say Avid FS because they happen to be in emulation mode. On this one, which is there by default. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in Adobe, if you're in Final Cut or anything else, that's just the way it works. So if I want to create a volume right now and just said, okay, I need something, maybe my audio bounce volume, and I'm going to make that real small. It doesn't need to be very big, 237 gigs, sure. So I can make that across both groups, tandemize it. It basically load balances across all 24 drives in the server. If I want to, I can make it on a single volume on the server as well. And that just gives me a couple of little extra options, like I can change dyno RAID methods, I can do RAID 5 or mirroring and things like that, or I can unprotect the volume later on. Most people will opt for this if they have a multi-group system, just going across both groups. Then my RAID 5 kicks in, my multi-user write kicks in, and I just say, okay, go ahead and do it. It makes the volume, it allocates basically a virtualized pool of storage, which always gives you 100% performance, even at 100% capacity. That's important for reality television. Because when you start to think about all the shooting ratios you're getting, all the media you're feeding into the system, having a system with consistent performance all the way up to 100% is extremely important, and we're one of the only ones that do it. So here's my audio bounce volume. That was been created on the server. That's all set. I can go in here and show my permissions. I have a bunch of people with write access. I can just take these guys away. They don't need to see it. Pro Tools isn't going to be dealing, well, they are actually, aren't they? That's my audio bounce. So I'm going to take these guys away, remove them from the volume. I'm simply going to keep my user here on read only, so I'm going to change permission. So I have this here on JimMC. And here's my audio bounce, JimMC. It was my user. It's read only. I'm going to go ahead and mount that volume. Mounting the audio bounce volume, it pops up, and there it is. Simple as that. You have made a new volume now for your project. You can now start ingesting to it, start putting whatever you want on it. Anyone else who puts something on there, I'm going to see it immediately. The updates are automatic and immediate on my workstation. So let me show you some other thing we have here. I have this little fast tracker application. So this is my way to go in and index what Eric is doing. So he's now doing all these transcodes, and I want to manage this in some way. I have different catalogs for different users, and I can set up catalogs for my producers, set up catalogs for the assistants. I can set up catalogs for different jobs in the facility. This one happens to be, let's see, let me make a new catalog. Make a new catalog. It's going to be audio. My audio catalog, don't need a description on that. So now I can go to my index and say, okay, in my audio catalog, of course I'm not doing audio and I'm doing transcode, so I'm going to go to the transcode one. Back up, reverse, bing, ding, ding. Back to the transcode catalog, and I'm going to index the directory. I'm going to index some files, actually, because he made a bunch of them. So here's a bunch of files that are outputted directly from the Telestream box over there. And I'm going to just grab a few of these and say, okay, let me grab those, open those up, indexes those, gives me all the metadata. It says, okay, here's what it is. Okay, here's the duration, here's all that. If I want to play it, I double click on it, it plays. Okay, a custom player that exists on any client, whether you don't have to go into the Avid to see that. You know, it just kind of opens it up and goes. So now I can decide, okay, it's going to go ahead and be added to the selected catalog. It goes through and creates a thumbnail view of all the clips. And then when that's done, bang, and bang. All right. So 7 files added. Now it didn't make a proxy of all those files that quickly. This is called Fast Tracker. It tracks them very quickly, indexes them, catalogs them very quickly, makes a thumbnail scroll so you can see the action. It's not meant to be sort of a distribution model for all your different codecs. That's what he does. Okay. Eric, I mean, if you don't see who I'm pointing to. So now I can go into my search and say, hey, what have I added in the last 10 minutes? Oh, there they are. Okay, so here's all my clips. I can see what's going on here, and I can add custom metadata to them. I say, okay, well, this guy, that's the green screen one. Add new tag, and put a comment on that. I'm going to call it Greenie. And now my Greenie one, okay, so if in the future, if I ever want to just search for green, there it is. So very simple, so that's all done. Now this is not sort of the asset management system that a big reality series would have. This doesn't have all the bells and whistles of our partner asset management systems, several of which Key Code will sell you. But it does have the essence of being a very fast way to track media that's on a system that you may already own or you'd put in and not thinking about asset management, and you say, okay, well, I need to be able to find this stuff. This is 30, 40 terabytes worth of media. Very quick way to do that in a very scalable way once the system starts to get large, because you're not keeping a whole bunch of proxies online if you don't need to. So that's what I wanted to mention. I also want to mention too, Facilis TerraBlock is especially well versed with 4K, 5K, 6K, 8K, whatever K you want to talk about. We're already in these workflows. So the fact that we can scale out to your reality workflow, and we can talk to you when it comes time for these formats to be uplifted to the next level of bit rates is very important. That's where we want to come from for you. And thank you very much for coming, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Right on. Thank you, Jim. That's great. We're live, right? That's me right there live. What's up? Is Devin still here? Devin, are you still here? Devin, what's up? All right, Devin, one of our engineers. Key Code Media, amazing, save a life. He's since moved on. He's at Hallmark Channel. Congratulations, you're at Hallmark. That's really cool. One of our smartest engineers. I noticed when he came back tonight, he's lost like 10 pounds. You leave Key Code Media. 10 pounds. You see that the camera puts on right there for you? There it is, honey. Yeah, I'm doing this. Hey, Diego. So I'm not leaving Key Code, so I'm stuck with it.
I've gained 2 pounds since I've been here.
So just talking about 4K in the future and what might be here, look up there. That's the numbers, folks. That's the numbers. Well, that means a whole lot of storage. The files are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which means your SANs potentially are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger unless you get really smart with your workflow. And we talk about tier 2 and offline. And those are things we're going to talk about. It becomes very important. Jim, that was great. Now, the next segment of our workflow is my favorite part. My I bleed purple Avid. I love this. I love the new DNX.io. You'll see it right there, and you guys are going to be able to come up later and check it out. Very cool. Partnering with Blackmagic to bring it to you. And we also up here have the new ISIS 1000 for those folks that don't have $1 billion to spend with Avid. Really cool. No, we'll be able to get more in depth in that. Let's jump to the next slide. So what we're going to talk about now is we're picking selects, and now we're getting to the producer, we're getting to the editor, and we're going to get to that final lock, that process that we're talking about in the workflow. But before we get there, we're going to talk about something unique. Everybody knows in the last 2 years, feature film and television, episodic, those guys that are shooting with those big cameras, they're doing something really cool. They're transcoding on set. They're walking over to a box. They're putting LUTs on it. They're coloring it. They're transcoding it and done. So those editors can rock and roll immediately. But reality isn't doing that. Why is reality not doing that? 700 to 1, 1,000 to 1. We started transcoding on set, we'd be there a week and a half after the set had left, right? But I'm going to let Michael Krulik at Avid, thank you for being here, talk about some new technology that is available now. What if we could send that proxy to our post facility 3,000 miles away the same day, and they could start cutting and link back next? Really cool. I'll let them talk about that. I'll let them talk about the new product. And then the reality television producer-editor relationship, getting to that final lock, getting ready to go to color, to go to graphics, and go to music. So basically what I'm saying is, this is kind of where the magic happens. Michael, let's make some magic.
How y'all doing? All right. Great stuff so far. Just again, want to talk about some of the things from the Avid side. We did make a couple of announcements at NAB. As Tony mentioned, we do have the DNX IO, which is Thunderbolt or PCIe connectivity to your editor. We did partner with Blackmagic. Thank you, Blackmagic. Their name is there. Our name is there. We're open. The nice thing about this is you can work HD, you can work 2K, 4K, UHD, and play out. But we also work with our other partners, so you can work with AJA or Blackmagic as well. So Avid is open. Also, the ISIS 1000, as Tony mentioned, it's a little less expensive if you are a boutique, if you are working on an independent or documentary and don't want to go with an ISIS 5500 or a 7500. And by the way, ISIS, we had the name first. For those of you that don't know, it does stand for Infinitely Scalable Intelligent Storage. So honestly, I didn't just make that up. So yeah, you can actually scale more. Really nice, great control, being able to dynamically reallocate your workspaces. Again, a lot of people are using it for anything from documentary to education, all the way up to feature films and enterprise customers. So really great solution. Now getting into some of the editorial stuff, let's go ahead and play some of the little Food Truck Wars here promo that was put together.
Just eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. Eat it, eat it.
Audio is there audio playing?
Just eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. Eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it.
Okay, so obviously we don't have the rights to use that song, so Tony's going to be working on something later with that. But also getting into some other features I do want to talk about. Some new features with Media Composer, like doing quick finds. When you are working with reality, when you are working with a lot of footage and bins, you want to be able to quickly sort out what bins you're looking at. So we can actually go within folders and do a quick find. Let's say I want to find any of the exteriors. We simply type that out, if I'd spell it right, and it takes me right to that bin. So if you do have hundreds of bins, it's a really nice, easy way to go in and search for your bins. Nice thing about that also is we've actually added that to your timeline. So if you go down to your timeline view, you can see we can actually search for markers, comments, clip names, or resolution just by coming in and typing that into the quick find. So that's something that's brand new inside of Media Composer 8.4. Also, what we've done is allowed you may have noticed when you're working with some effects or some high-res material, we used to limit the size of your window when you were working. But now if you go to, let's say, your single display, we can actually resize this as big as you would like. So you can actually make your window a little nicer, a little great for viewer. Again, it's the little things that help make it a little easier to work, and you can go back to dual mode. And also another thing I want to drop in before we get into some remote collaboration is things like titles. We now have 3 titling tools that you can use inside of Media Composer. We have the new Blue Titler Pro, which we now include with Media Composer. We'll actually drop that in right on the top. We have it in the effect palette. Just take that, drop it right here. The nice thing is it's a very easy way to go in and start creating titles. You have your user interface. That, again, you're not leaving Media Composer, and you're also going to see this with some of the great fusion elements that Ronnie's going to show shortly. But the nice thing here is with your control, you can go in, you can change the size. We can say food truck. Food truck, here we go. You have different styles you can choose from. little styles, you simply hover, you double click, and it applies that. You can change the size of that, and you can even work in 3D. Ooh, for control. Now we have one created, which is nice. We've taken the Sin City look, and I've actually applied that, so we now have a little Food Truck Wars, a flavor to kill for. So now once that's created, we simply step back in. That's actually now part of my edit inside of Media Composer. So again, nice control. Again, you're going to see some really nice titles and effects with the Fusion plugin. But now we want to talk about collaboration rather quickly. So you get media, it's ingested through Telestream. We're going into our system here, and for the producer who doesn't necessarily know or want to work with Media Composer, how about bringing up a web browser that they can go in and take a look at the media through a proxy. I'm actually going to access, I'm VPN'd into Burlington, Massachusetts, and I'm going to take this shot right here. Here's some of the food trucks. So that can be brought into the system, and I can simply right-click on that clip and do a remote upload of that. Whoop, let me go ahead and bring that up again here. Remote upload is going to let me upload that through the VPN, through the network connection to Burlington, Massachusetts, and it's going to land on the ISIS back there. So a great way to go in and collaborate. You can send media back and forth.
Let me stop him. What he just did was send the footage we just shot 3,000 miles away onto a sand so somebody can start cutting right now. Y'all awake?
But wait, there's more. So now I can go into a web browser. We'll go into Media Central UX, and UX stands for Unified Experience. This is now just a web browser that anyone can bring up, and it's going to let me go in and preview that media. It's going to create a proxy of that on the fly that I'll be able to preview in a web browser. I can add locators, or excuse me, markers, as they are called now, and even create little rough cuts or string outs that as soon as that information is saved, that will link back with the media that's back at the facility with the high-res metadata. So simply double-click here. Here's some food truck stuff right there. Again, that's just a web browser. If I want to go in and search for any media that was checked in the last hour. So the last hour is going to do a simple search. Let's see what comes up. Here we have some, well, here we go. This, again, was just created earlier.
Yeah, I took that. That was somebody getting into the booze.
Was it?
That's an iPhone coming. There she is. There's my girl. What's up?
Okay, so yeah, the nice thing about that is we're actually seeing that media that's actually creating that proxy, being able to let me play it. I can go in and make markers. The markers are just time code accurate. There we go.
Yeah, I actually put it in too.
There we go. All right. So we can go in and create markers. These markers, as they're listed right here, are, again, time code accurate. It's actually telling me who's logged in. So if the producers have logged in by their name, we'll see who created those comments. We can go in and type in, right here, open that bottle. Okay? That, again, is metadata that's instantly saved, and once that's brought back into Media Composer and I bring up that clip, I'll see those markers. The great thing is the producer or whoever's using this lightweight app of Media Central UX can be anywhere in the world. The proxies are created, again, all frame accurate, linking back to your media. So that's some really great workflow there.
Right on, dude. Thank you so much for that. So now, at this point, what we've got is we've got a producer who's beat his head against the wall. We've got an editor who really doesn't like his producer, but they finally come to a lock. Whether it's a half an hour show or an hour show. Now, it's the differentiator. We deal with production companies that are massively huge. We deal with production companies that are very small, boutique. But it's all about content quality. And at this point, it's how you stand out from the other. And that stand out is finishing. Now, for those of you that are in reality television that really deal with the finishing process, you understand the budgets that are allocated per episode for finishing and coloring and graphics. And let me tell you, reality television, it's not so good. It's really bad. But it's ironic because you can really tell. I know it's reality television, but when you look from one to the other, you can tell who's got high quality content and what you want to watch. And this is where it happens. And a lot of people are taking this in-house now, or they're outsourcing it, whatever the case may be. But the investment in the coloring process, whether you do it in-house or you outsource it, the return is dramatic. It makes a difference between a show getting picked up and not getting picked up. So we've got all this iPhone footage where I think I am the next Steven Spielberg, but it looks like iPhone footage. So here we go. The next process here, Fred's going to go for it. Fred's going to take that beautiful stuff that came over in the lock, and now he's going to make it pretty. Fred, let's go.
How you guys doing? So
Fred Beeman.
this is DaVinci Resolve 12. This is the new version of DaVinci Resolve 12, and it is now NLE. Is the mic on? Can you guys hear me good? All right, good. So going into finishing and conforming, the main thing with conforming is it's never perfect. You always run into issues. So if you look up here in my edit index, all of these markers I've made are all the issues I ran into doing a conform, and I'm going to show you how I address those. So starting out, I'm going to go ahead and import my timeline and grab something from Michael. We can import AAFs, EDLs, or XMLs from other NLEs. I'm going to leave my project settings the same, so 1920, 1080. And so down here, you'll see this is my finished timeline and how everything's replaced and all my markers are across the board and what I did. So when I import this, it's going to say some things are not found. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and say no. So this is the start of your conform process. Red exclamation points, and you're like, oh crap, I got to fix all this stuff. So I'm going to show you how you go across doing this. So first things first, these transition clips, they did not reconnect because they were a weird format, so I had to convert them to something else. So when you usually conform something, you can do something called force conform. So I can come up to these transitions and how these say converted. So I know that these ones are real and these ones actually work. So what I want to do is just force conform these clips to ones that work. So I can just grab this transition 12, force conform to that one, 11, force conform to this one, 35, force conform to this one. So basically all I just did was made these clips reconnect to media that actually did work. So now they're back online. These guys right here are my text tools that came across, but they didn't come across properly. So if I want to see what it did look like, I need to link an offline reference clip. If I come up to my sequence, I have our edit right here, our offline edit that we did right here. I can link this edit to my timeline. So if I right click and say link offline reference, link offline reference from here to my food truck war MP4 and switch this to my offline layout. This is usually how a conform's done, and you look at your offline over here and what your program monitors what you're currently working on. So if I scrub through, this is a good way to frame check. Okay, look at right here, I don't have a title, it's obviously offline. So a good way to start replacing these is I'll just disable these titles, and I'll lift all the things that I don't need up to a new track, and I'll just turn it off and lock it. That way I know where they're at and I still have a good reference, but now they're out of my way and I can start working. Same with this guy, I'll just put him up here. So the first one, food trucks are coming. I'll just do a simple title tool replacement. I'll bring in a text tool, drop this down, trim it up. Food trucks are coming. Just a quick type. And obviously white on white doesn't work too well. So we're going to swing the color and center it up. We can change the fonts, sizes, all that stuff. But these are just simple text replacements. I don't want to do any crazy finishing work because I'm going to send these titles to Ronnie, and Ronnie's going to build me brand new 3D titles that replace these chunks throughout the process. So what I'm going to do with this text tool, just so I have a good reference in my editorial things and I don't have offline, is I have a finished one here, and I'll just grab those other text tools that I have, which are these guys, and I'll just bring them in for now so we have something as placeholders, because later Ronnie's going to give me even more cooler titles to switch out with. So if I turn these back on, oh, sorry. Let me just lower this guy. If I just paste these in, so we have our title tools, enable them. So the battle is on. We can frame check that, so that one's okay. Get hungry, we can frame check that one, that's okay. And food truck wars, we can frame check, that's okay. So the titles have been replaced, and I force conform my transitions. So now I need to replace these other two, looks like they're Photoshop elements. So food truck 1 and food truck 2, I can come up and force conform to these clips because they weren't just connected properly, but I had the assets. So I'm just telling Resolve, hey, this is exactly what was reconnected in my files. And then this last one was just another title tool. We can bring this guy back in here too. And I can just paste him in. So this is like the nitty-gritty of what you go through with conforming. And a lot of things that people don't realize is there's slight frame adjustments that get messed up. So if I frame by frame this, and say we get to the end of the shot, that frame hits, and it obviously doesn't match our offline. So with Resolve being a full-blown NLE, I can do frame slips, I can do frame replacements. So I can just come in here, and this is basically online editing, where I'm fixing frames. If I go to the end of this shot, you can see that there's a frame hit right there. That's not supposed to happen. And that just happens when you're coming over through a conform or other weird things with the data. But this is how you can quickly fix those things that might prevent you from making that deadline and getting the edit done for the client in time. So I just fixed the 3 frame slips that I had wrong. I fixed the titles, and I force conform these transitions. Now what I want to do is kind of spice this up and add some looks across all of my shots. So if I go to the first shot and I jump to my color page, this one looks like it was already color corrected somewhat, but what I can do here is I'll just add a simple, we'll just do a simple DSAT. So I will bring up my keyframes. We'll add a custom keyframe right here. And I want him to, the saturation to turn on right when he takes a bite of the sandwich. So I'll put a keyframe right about here. And I'll go to the head of the clip and just crank my saturation to 0. And another one here to 0. So when he bites the sandwich, he turns the color. Very simple, easy effect, done very quickly with no rendering. And then I can come up and I can tweak his color a little bit. Looks like there's some blues and the blacks, so I can kind of offset that a little bit, crush the blacks, bump the mids and the sats. And these are just quick looks that we can do very fast.
You see, it's tedious stuff, but when you see it happen in front of you, that's the difference between
And this look is on and off, so that's just a quick grade. Now I'll skip over these titles because Ronnie's going to jump in those in the Fusion. For this shot, this guy's taking a big bite of the sandwich. Looks like he's kind of framed weird, and if we look at our offline, we can tell that he is. If I have an offline reference loaded over here, I can switch this to mix wipe so I can see what my timeline is overlaid on my source. So with having mix wipe on, I can easily zoom and be able to see how the frame is supposed to be and fix those easy frame adjustments, repos, scales, time frames, rematching or retiming. So this just allows me to be able to say, okay, my offline is a little off. There was a scale done here. I can easily fix this and zoom those in. So just a quick way to fix repos, which is a common thing in conforming. If I jump ahead to him now that he's reframed, it looks like he's already kind of color corrected. So what I'll do here is I'm going to add a power window and do a vignette. So I'll just add a window, add some feathering to that window, and really focus on his face with this, and feather it, and then bring down the levels around him. That way, when I turn off this mask, you can really see that I'm really isolating the focus just on him. I don't really care about these people over here. So that's just a quick vignette on him, and it really draws attention to the subject and what's happening. Skipping over this title, because Ronnie's going to take care of it in Fusion. We're going to go to her skin tone looks a little weird. So I can come up to my vector scope and turn on my skin tone indicator. This line right here will help me decide where my skin tones are supposed to land. So I can use that and it kind of adjust her. Maybe a little DSAT. Now she's kind of a little yellow. So we can kind of just help dial that skin tone a little bit better. Do another quick look on her with some mids and sats. And then I can also add a vignette on her as well. But the point of all this is I'm using these similar tools to make different looks, and I'm doing it very fast, very quickly. I'm not rendering. It's just very, very efficient in how to be able to make these deadlines, because that's what people are expecting these days. They want you to be able to do all of this. If I come back to this shot, these guys are, this color looks pretty good, so this is just an easy saturation. I'm just making the colors pop a little bit more, and same with this one, just an easy saturation and boost. And we'll come back and we'll end up popping in some new VFX and audio in just a little bit. But when I'm done with all my renders, I can go to the deliver page. I can pick any format, any wrapper, any codec. I can build jobs in my render queue over here. I can remote render to a different machine. But overall, Resolve can handle all conforming capabilities, nonlinear editing capabilities, color graphics, tracking, and we have a free license as well.
And it's free.
Yep.
No, not really.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
I'll be
very
right
much.
back.
That's great. So I hope that shows a point. It's very tedious, and you got to kind of go through the demo and see it, but you can see the difference that it makes, obviously, right? I didn't know what those people did. I thought they just sat in dark rooms all day. But they don't. So the next point, as we go through, you saw him, he put Eat It on there. We did not get the rights to Eat It, so we can't use that at all. So now we're going to go to audio. Right now we've got a Pro Tools 12 rig in the back on a brand new S6. Can you tell I'm an audio guy? Oh my God, I love it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to record an original piece because we can't afford to use the other pieces. We're going to bounce it down. Now, some of the new features of Pro Tools 12 for all you audio people that are out there are faster than real-time bounce. That means you don't have to wait for a whole half an hour, or a full 2-length feature film length to bounce down your mix. Now it just goes and it's done. And it's on the sand, you drag and drop, and you're done. And it works. Also, what's coming very soon is collaboration. Really super cool stuff coming in with 12. You're going to be able to create flat files. You're going to be able to compose with some guy in Kentucky, another guy in Istanbul, and it's all real time. Everybody's got a little Skype window. They can talk to each other. They can all jam. Super cool. But also, it's just a really new, great platform. So that being said, right now, we've got to get some music over this. So let's do that. We've got Robert Van Kuren, one of the hottest audio engineers in Southern California. If he hasn't already worked on your Pro Tools station, he will soon. He's amazing. All right, so let's do it. Going to bounce it real time. Now he's going to bounce what we just recorded. We probably won't use all of that, but all we need is 30 seconds. And that bounce, you'll see a little line go through if you look over there because he's not on the window, but boom, it's going. And it's going to be exported right now on this box right here, Facilis, which our finishing team are right now dragging that file into the timeline and they're going to cut it. Now before they do that and they show you that, put it all cut together, now we're going to show you what Blackmagic can do with graphics. This is cool. So what we gave them originally, I think, were some JPEGs of these trucks, just nothing, just a piece of fire in the background. This is your guys' job. You guys make the content. We just put it all together and make it work, right? So give us a break here. It's not as good as what I know some of you guys can do, but we're doing it. So here we go. Go ahead. Let's jump right in.
All right, awesome, guys. Mic on? Yeah? Hello, 1, 2, 3? Yeah? All right, how many people here are compositors or use compositing in your workflow? All right, we got a really big crowd of compositors.
Woohoo!
Okay, well, I'm about to show you why that's a mistake. See, a lot of people say, I'm just not going to get into the whole node-based effect systems and and all of that kind of stuff for what we do. Okay, well, I'm going to show you why that's technically not true. Fusion is a node-based system, but it has a template-based. So you can have presets from everything from text to particles. We have a shader library for 3D and tons of tools, 25 years of development, 2D, 3D, you name it. So let me show you why this is something that you would use, for example, in a tight schedule. So let me go through, I just brought some of the presets that you just saw in the bin, and I want to show you how fast Fusion is, okay? So here's an example, other examples. These are all presets, right? So text scrambling, for instance. In this case, we have a little rotation, a little thing, and then I'm going to show you here, jiggle left to right. Okay, let's actually see what that is. It's just a text tool, and the text tool has a modifier called follower, where it just basically follows what you're doing. Change the timing, and it's a longer delay between each one, right? But no rendering. It's fast, fast, fast. Okay, so now what if I want to do right to left? So I could do right to left, or I could do inside out. I could pretty much on the fly, and even I can go in here, let's say, we'll go right in here, we'll type food, truck, wars. So it's doing it as I'm playing it. Now you want to get fancy, we go into shading. So let's go ahead, we're in the first layer, so we have all these different layers. To throw in a color, go in here, let's add an outline. Make this one yellow. We'll add a little shadow, which you can't see because we're not in the mat. Anyways, it just plays. You can make all of these modifications. For instance, I'm just going to go in here under shading, and let's just play around and give it some color. Let's give it a little border. Let's increase the thickness of that border. Why don't we go in here? Like I said, we drop a drop shadow in here. And now you can see there's a drop shadow. We can go in and pretty much do anything. You could take the red lines, for instance, adjust the softness, and say we're just going to, let me take the transparency off. We're just going to adjust the softness on the Y. So you get this really cool sort of effect of that kind of stuff. And again, this is all, you can go ahead at any point and just change what's in there. I have to spell it right though, right? So, example, very, very, very quickly. Now, it doesn't just mean 2D, right? We have also 3D presets. So here's an example, exactly the same thing, but functioning in 3D space. So in here I have random, I have inside out. But the interesting thing is each tool can hold numerous amounts of presets. So you can very quickly say, I'm going to swap to different text, different functions, so I can quickly see, do I like inside out? Do I like that? Things like that. Now, making this look like Chrome is very easy. You just do a replace material, and we go into our library. And for instance, we take the ever-famous Chrome that everybody loves, and we just put it in here, view that, hit play. And we have our, let's actually type something that's longer. Text, inside out, right?
Hey, Ronnie, is this also a plugin with Media Composer as well? Does Fusion have a plugin?
Yes, Fusion is part of Media Composer as a plugin.
What?
So you can actually run it from there. So yeah, so again, it's very, very simple. If you wanted to change durations and all that kind of stuff, we have a very, very sophisticated timeline, right? So you go in here and you see that. There's my timeline. And I could say, just show me the selected node. And there's my jiggle. And I've got all these different things, right? I've got my opacity, that kind of stuff. Go into the spline editor. I'm going to show you the something cool here. This is my, and I say only one, and this is my angle on the Y, for instance, right? And then you have your layout width, you have your position on path, and you have your sizing. So in this case, you can go in anywhere and just make adjustments on the fly and have these things inherited in your animation. If you're, probably not enough change to see. But it's preset based, right? You build your stuff, right? If I worked on this show, I wouldn't start a minute after he's done and start, finding cool assets for Food Truck Wars. I mean, I'm on the show. So I would have tons and tons of presets. And we work with those presets. So for instance, here's a preset we have in our bin that just shows people how to create a timeline element, right? For scrubbing, for graphics. We have tons of those, and you build them, and essentially you just drag them out of the bin and say, well, here, from my Food Truck Wars, I'm gonna grab a, what do you call it? Here, the template for displaying backgrounds. Boom, just drag it in, view that, and this is the background that I will show you that we're using for the end sequence, okay? So you really work in templates. You work in templates. You could work in 10,000 nodes as well, but in this environment, drag and drop, switch it, hit play, change the color, add outlines, and watch it happen. So now I want to talk about how do I change all of these, do some really cool like dynamic stuff. Well, again, these transitions, I'm going to show you what I have done. Let's go ahead. I'm going to load up something called generation, which is part of our studio. And I'm going to show you some of these transitions that were done, and then let's just talk really quickly on how we go about doing that. So you guys obviously now see I've got the text. You saw me throw Chrome in and just type some words. That's exactly basically the preset that I throw on to the 3D logos. All right? So we repeat the same thing. Different background. Again, another thing, different background.
Ooh.
And then a completely different, ending that we just use the same elements and juiced it up.
Cool.
But if you look, these are the elements that we create, right? For the wars, the battle begins, food trucks are coming, that kind of stuff. And all that really is, if you really look at it, the food trucks are coming one, for instance, is we have the displays template, which I was just about to show you before, right? So if we go and look at this, what do I have? I have the food truck. I just make it an image plane, and then I key it. So I have just like a little bit of alpha channels, blur it, and then I use this displace node, which essentially will displace the truck based on that. So if I take the blur off, for instance, you'll see that that's the truck. And if we go down and squeeze that down, so we see how I create that truck effect. It's just a keyframe that I'm not interested in that. Great, so I get rid of the truck, bring another clip in, pump it in here, change the animation a little. Right? You have to really think about the work you do is in advance. Right? You want to have these little packages ready so that they can, go. So if you want to look and show you what that final sort of comps looks like, here is a comp for, say, the battle's on, right? So that's the whole thing. This is basically my text preset. This is a box for text. I kept that in my bin. I have all the presets that I want, for the different things. I've actually set a render range, right? So I've got all of these set up, and you saw how I set those up. And in here, I just change my text, do that, whatever. So that's my text layer. This is the displacement layer, and all I do is feed it different things that I want to displace. So in this case, I want to use gloves that smash each other, and I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use that to drive my displacement rig, right? So now you see the displacement is basically being done on that. Throw in your shader, and voila, right? You've got your, what do you call it, carbon fiber. So each one of these things, you don't redo, right? You don't redo. That's my camera light pack. For when I do logos, I always want the camera at 0, 0, 0, and then back on the Z. I always want a light, 3/4, one in the back. Very simple, just that's your light package. Why would you redo that every single time? So in essence, this is essentially how that is done. Now let's look at the truck ending very, very quickly, and you'll see that that whole thing is a very, very simple, real simple. Just the two layers, they're just coming in. Very simple. It's just a little keyframe. No big deal. Then we take the fire element, right? And so I've got the fire, bring it up, and I'm going to put it in as a background for the trucks. Okay, so right now I'm using a macro that we include called the wrapper. That was made by me. So the wrapper itself is like a super comp. It allows you to do everything from wrapping one or another, view the luminance of what you want to wrap so that you can actually see the areas that you want light wrapped, edge and color wrapping and all that same thing. So the next thing we did is, again, this is the beautiful part about nodes. This one image is driving a bunch of things. The other thing it's driving is a displace, right? So this displace is essentially rippling my truck, and it's based on this action. And I could bump up the light power for you to kind of get a sense of what it's doing. Right now you could visually see that. So now I have a little animation with the getting a little brighter. It's a little bit over here. You can make your adjustments, make that go a little faster, things like that. Very, very easy to manage your timelines. Okay, so then the next thing was the logo. So once again, we took the default Chrome package that I have with the light out of the bin. That's what you get, right? Let me clear this. Right, so that's what you get. And this was what came out of my little kit, right? This little Chrome thingy. But our shaders have an input. And I can actually take this fire, and I just offset it a little bit in time, just so that it was black a bit at first. And I'm just going to feed that into my Chrome. So now my logo is not working.
Nothing could go wrong.
Right, exactly. All right, so now my Chrome logo went from Chrome to actually having the image in there. So when we see it play, it now has that effect. Now, I put the lights in and everything, so when I turn lights on, you could see that you're only capturing it as the fire is moving and based on that motion. Great, render that out. That's rendering, that's render speed. And let's actually displace it. So same tool, right? Here, one for here, and let's just combine the two together. That's what we get.
All right.
This is node-based compositing, and it is not as complicated as people think, and it's actually a very viable solution considering it's free.
And that's us giving them a PDF. That was it. Okay, so that's better than something. Like I said, you guys are the talent. You guys are going to do much better than us, I know. That being said, that's going to go back, and we're going to show you our final render, what we've done tonight, all the footage that we've thrown together soon. But before we do that, we got to talk about deliverables. We've got the audio, we've got the graphics, we've got everything, and now, wait a minute, before we deliver, we got to do quality control. Everybody love quality control? In-house, out-of-house? Some people think quality control is just some guy or gal sitting in front and pressing play, watching the whole episode, and I'll tell you, 50% of it really is that. It really is. Yeah, well. But a lot of people don't know a lot of this functionality can be automated. A lot of it. And there's some great tools out there that we can sell you and build in your workflow that will help you make you more efficient, put out more content. Now, the matching audio levels are issues, video mix, timing, add inserts, but I'm telling you, people spell stuff wrong. It can be as simple as that. And some automation can't catch that. So sometimes it takes a real person. Next slide. So, distribution. If we go to the next slide, we can go to this one. Transcoding speed, again, we're going to talk about, real quick, we're going to go back to Telestream. Telestream is going to talk to us about the final deliverable. Remember we talked about all the different codecs and deliverable requirements. Does anybody recognize this? Anybody know what this is, my reality television people? This is Discovery Channel. This is their requirement, their deliverable. All the shows that they receive, require, they want it delivered on LTO tape. Look at the track count for audio. It's insane. What this guy can do over here is he can create a watch folder that says Discovery. You get your final, and Eric, what do you do with that file?
We take it and make mini outlets with that file. Anybody ready for seconds? Yep, hello. So when you're done with your editorial process, everything's finished, color timed, edited, audio sweetened. I I'm sure you have some pain points with actually having to create the deliverables. I'm sure no one loves to render out H.264 files, MXF files on a nonlinear editor. That's a waste of time. You're tying up an editing bay, making deliverable files. That's where Vantage kind of jumps back into the scene. So, as we mentioned, we can take a lot of input files coming in. We can also make a lot of output files going out. And you're probably asking, why am I looking at boxes here again? I'll kind of explain this particular workflow for a finishing workflow. For this particular one, we're making an X. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit. I don't think I'm on speaker here, but making an XDCAM HD out for a broadcaster, making a ProRes 422HQ for an archival format, and also make an X264 for YouTube. Now, Vantage has a wide variety of output formats for different platforms. I mean, it goes from adaptive bitrate streaming formats, MXF, GXF, LXF, DVD formats, proxies, flash video. I mean, we support a wide variety of outgoing formats so that your editors don't have to worry about having to transcode that in the nonlinear editor itself. Now, there's another function too in Vantage which allows us, so you don't even have to flatten a file going back out of editorial. You can export a QuickTime reference file going from Avid or a Final Cut, for instance. Or we have a module called Post Producer, which you can export a Final Cut Pro 7 XML or a simple AAF file and export that directly to the transcoder. So basically, wipe your hands clean, the edit's already done, the transcode goes ahead and takes over and does the final deliverable outputs. Now, sometimes you might have to make intermediate files as well. For instance, you might have to make audio and subtitle references with timecode burn-ins so they can make subtitle and audio files from Pro Tools. As an example, Vantage has a very wide feature set for filter set for burning in subtitles, closed captioning, burning in timecode, resizing filters. Again, this is all at a 16-bit processing level, so the quality is superb for any kind of the transcode that you are going out. Now, Vantage, let's say you want to, we also have a couple plugins for Aspera and Signia. So, for instance, if you're
This is important. How many people deliver on Aspera right now? Anyone? This is really important.
A couple folks. But you can automate those deliveries, and you can also send an automated email, maybe to your operations group or your customers to let them know they have a file that's been delivered to them. So Vantage is all about automation. Now, I mentioned Post Producer very briefly. Who loves making slates? Anybody? But it's an evil, it's a necessary evil on a lot of deliveries because, as you know, clients, like a lot of clients and stuff, they like slates. They want to know the audio configuration. They want to know what the format is. They want to know the title and the episode, all that kind of stuff. There's another feature in Vantage called work order, and I want to show you basically this work order watch. This is not a regular watch folder. It's going to look for basically what's called a CSV file or an Excel document. Everyone knows how to use Excel. And basically, this CSV file, and just again, think of an Excel document, every row is a different job. So row 2 and 3, that's a different job. Every column, and I glossed over this briefly, is a different variable. So basically, this is information that's going to automatically be provided to what's called our conform action or our post-producer action. And we're going to automatically generate slates based upon the deliverable requirements that are also baked into the workflow. So again, you might have one file in, you might have 10 to 15 different types of deliverables going out. We can automatically generate those slates that are going on the output. And I have a simple example here. Very simple. You can have your own slate backgrounds. You can have a motion background. Basically, it's just including information. And the only thing that's different on the slate is maybe your delivery, your distribution folks that you're delivering to, the audio configuration, the width and height, the frame rate. So instead of an editor having to type all this stuff in, you can get a PA to type this stuff in an Excel document, submit to a workflow and auto-generate slates on the way out. Now, post-producer is not just about generating slates. It's totally about production task automation. It's basically, think of it as an editor in a box. You can do tag and bag type of operations. Let's say you have to make promos. You can do promo versioning with it. Coming soon, coming next week, coming next Thursday, on tonight, available for download. It's the same promo skeleton. However, the only thing that changes is maybe a voiceover and a couple start and end tags, and then you can automate that on your way out instead of paying someone a ton of money just to sit there and hit go, go, go and eat their lunch at their desk. Or charge someone. Right, exactly. Again, it's all about automation. It's all about, Vantage is a Swiss Army knife of tools to allow you to do stuff faster, to do stuff quicker, to do stuff smarter. And again, going back to editorial, and especially reality television, the editors just edit. That's it. All they're doing is doing those final cuts, getting everything in. They're not rendering anything on the systems. Vantage is doing all the heavy lifting. And everyone's happy. Automated deliveries, automated transcoding, and that's kind of the way of the future.
So once that deliverable goes out, now we're going to finally have all these different codecs that go out. We're almost there, almost done. The last step, the archive, and then we're going to show the real. The archive. This thing is a SAN. And SANs are more expensive than NAS. We have tier 2. There are all kinds of tier 2 functionality. But the shows, the content that comes in, there's a lot of it. A lot of it. And when you're done, what you want to do is get it off so you can get the next one on, and the next one, and the next one, because they're expensive. The next is RVK, our amazing audio engineer. He's not just an audio engineer. He designs workflows for me, and we do huge projects. We did WGN, we did a ton of stuff. And I'm going to let him show you real quick a very simple, just quick LTO solution with storage DNA. Gets the content off. We can do 2. It's automated, drop folder. It's a GUI. It's on the web. You can make 1 for disaster recovery, off for archive if you own the content. Go for it, Rob. Pop it up.
All right. So I'll just quickly go through storage DNA. Let's take a step back right now and just say, what are we going to do with all this media, right? We have 700 to 1 going on. We have 1 million different hours of footage. We need to get that ready for the next show to come through. Well, storage DNA is a set of tools that we can automate to manage our data and back things up to LTO. How many people use storage DNA? Quick show of hands. Well, and where I come from, it saved my behind more than once, and it'll do the same for you. Whether it's Facilis, ISIS, SNS, any shared storage, it's pretty agnostic. Right now, this is the DNA evolution interface. So there's a few different workflows that we can touch base on. There's been a hot word used tonight a lot. I don't know how many people know what the meaning is. Conform. There's a million different.
Online conform, what?
Online conform, right?
This is really cool. It's boring, but it's cool.
So for Storage DNA 4.0, this is one of the hot new features, is doing 4K online conforming. So what that means is we have our 4K media, but there's no way we can hold that many hours of that footage that's that large and fast, so we need to transcode it to proxies and then finally relink. But where is that going to be? That needs to be stored on the LTO because guess what? It's way cheaper than the racetrack SAN that's sitting in that rack over there. So if we go over to our archive jobs section over here on the left, I have this grouping folder called group test. And this is actually going to walk through a real world workflow by one of our clients. So I have this insane pools 2 job. Okay, I can go with and walk through the restore. So I've archived all of the original camera masters to LTO, step 1, right? We use Telestream to transcode and make proxies so the editors are editing as I'm dealing with this part of it. Once they're done with their editing, they submit an ALE to us. What's that? It's an Avid log exchange file. So it's a metadata carrier file that tells us information. So in Storage DNA, I can go and make a restore ticket, choose the ticket location, SDNAFS, Dropbox, And this can all be automated. So the first step, I'm actually just pointing it to the paths. Okay, under the configuration, I can choose many of the different formats of metadata files. This is what sets StorageDNA apart from almost any other LTO or data management, is that I have the ability to actually parse and deal with these specific Avid files. So I choose ALE file name here, for instance. Now that I have the pathing set up, I can then look and parse the actual ALE file that was exported from the editor. I can go in and choose any of these different metadata fields which appear in the Avid Media Composer bin. In this instance, I'm going to choose path as the source name column. Under source path column, I'm going to actually say card name. So at the time of ingest, whether it's Telestream, Content Agent, MOG, whatever have you, I can actually designate these metadata fields with this metadata. So the card name, it's not tape anymore, right? This is the 21st century. So we changed to card name. We put that there. I can select a source restore, which is generally what you want. It'll go back to where it once came. Or I can customize the restore path to another drive that's available, or tier 2 or tier 3 storage even, just your massive storage. So when I add that ticket in, excuse me. So let me pick a restore location. Under temp. Okay. So it's going to parse that into an XML, and it's going to tell me where is all that data from this ALE, from that finished timeline. It happens to be on this tape. Well, in reality, that might be 20 different LTO tapes, and it would show me under this tape use columns, these are the tapes that I need to dig off the shelf, put in the library, and have it restore. So then we just say start job, and it rolls. So going back, then that's where they would relink. The high-res media would relink to the proxy that we were cutting, and we can finally export with our high-res. So that's in a nutshell.
Right on. So now that's a really cool way to be able to relink quickly to the high-res. Also, we're taking our archival right now, and we're putting on LTO, and we're getting it off that SAN so we can bring in the next job. Now, what we're going to do now is show you what we did real time. Nothing could go wrong, right? So here we go. Let's see if we got the audio up, and let's play it. Go for it, Frank. You got it up?
So I'm just going to bring in the audio track that was bounced out, and then I will mute the rest of the tracks that we had. And we'll
All
just
right. Is
trim
his
this up.
audio up, Sean?
Yep. 1 second.
Run it off the facilities? Right on. Put it full screen, man.
Well, I'm just going to swap the music first, and then I'm going to pop in some other things real fast. Let me.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like audio's running through yet. Okay, let me do some slips real fast, and we'll show the waveform. So just bring this over, Tad. So there's the bounce that came from over there, and I pulled that off the Facilis. And then let's go through here, and I'm going to add a few last-minute touches here. So all of our text, I pulled down Ronnie's renders, so I can come back and look at the offline, say the food trucks are coming, so I can bring in these renders that he did from Fusion. Add these in really quick, and then let's see, this one's Battle On. We can just drop these in. Food trucks are coming. Actually, no, let's get hungry. And then say if things don't line up correctly, I can always do editing in Resolve as well. So I can do frame fixes, I can do trims. This one isn't long enough, so I can come in here and I can retime the speed, and I can turn off ripple on sequences, and I can retime things. And then for our final end sequence shot, I can bring this guy in as well. And we can disable clips, so anything that's underneath that I don't want anymore, I can just turn off easily. Just running through basically like a real conform would be. And when I come back up to this track, we can see that I can trim this guy, add some dissolves, retime it as well. And these are all just pretty standard conforming and finishing techniques to be able to get things in that you want fast, and Now we have our final VFX in. We have our final audio in. We tweaked all of our titles. And after I pop this one in,
Right on. The music's awesome, by the way.
so the left is what we had, and the right is what we ended up finishing with. Premieres never.
Yay, we did it. I can't believe we got through it. Thank you guys very much. We're not going to have a Q&A. What we are going to do is you guys can come up and ask any questions from the folks at all. They're all here. They've got the system up. Thank you very much for sitting through it. I know it was fun. The 30 seconds is better. Thank you for coming. It was awesome. Now, one last slide I want to show. Can we go one last slide? Let's tie it all together. We've got a lot. I can't believe we got all these folks here together. We got Telestream, Facilis, Avid, Blackmagic. They're all playing nice. Storage DNA. Let Key Code help you out. Come to us. I have a full staff of engineers, workflow specialists that design and can make all these parts and pieces work together. We've done it before. We keep doing it. We are on the end. We have some of the hottest engineers in the industry. So if you have any questions or you don't know what to do, we got it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.